In the heart of New York City, Daniel Carter was known as a sharp-dressed manager of Bellevue Bistro, one of the most upscale restaurants in town. With a stern face and a commanding voice, Daniel took pride in maintaining high standards. However, his idea of professionalism often bordered on arrogance. He saw himself as a perfectionist but was quick to judge anyone he deemed unworthy. On the other hand, Jordan Smith was a kind-hearted and diligent young man in his early 20s, working as a waiter at the bistro. He took pride in his job, treating every patron with respect and warmth. What most people didn't know was that Jordan was the son of the city's mayor, Vivian Smith. He rarely mentioned it, wanting to be valued for his own merits rather than his family name. One bustling Friday night at Bellevue Bistro, the dining area was packed with elegantly dressed guests, and the staff moved rapidly to keep up with the orders. Jordan managed his section effortlessly, smiling as he served dishes and engaged in friendly conversation. Meanwhile, Daniel was in a foul mood. He had just received a scathing review from a food critic and was determined to prove that he ran a flawless establishment. As he surveyed the dining room, his eyes landed on Jordan. "Table 5 is waiting too long for their drinks," Daniel said sharply, striding toward him in the middle of the floor. "They'll be out shortly, sir," Jordan replied, his tone calm and respectful. "That's not good enough," Daniel snapped. "You need to move faster. This isn't some roadside diner." Jordan nodded and continued his work, but Daniel was relentless. Throughout the evening, he found fault in everything Jordan did, from the way he carried plates to how he interacted with customers. At one point, Jordan accidentally spilled a small amount of water while serving a table. The guests laughed it off, saying it was no big deal, but Daniel was furious. "In my office, now," Daniel ordered, his voice cold. Inside the office, Daniel closed the door and turned to Jordan. "What's wrong with you?" he demanded. "You've been a liability tonight. If you can't handle this job, maybe you're better suited for something else." Jordan frowned. "I don't understand, sir. I've been doing my best." Daniel scoffed. "Your best isn't good enough here. Look, I know that people like you don't always have the same work ethic, but this is Bellevue Bistro. We have standards." Jordan's eyes narrowed slightly. "People like me? You know what I mean," Daniel said dismissively. "Just clean up your act, or you won't last here." Biting his tongue, Jordan refused to let anger take over. "Understood, sir." The next evening, the restaurant buzzed with excitement as a high-profile guest was dining at Bellevue Bistro, Mayor Vivian Smith. Her visits were rare, and the staff was on high alert to ensure everything went perfectly. Daniel was in his element, personally overseeing the service at the mayor's table, blissfully unaware of her connection to Jordan. Jordan continued his work, displaying his usual professionalism, even serving the mayor's table. When Mayor Smith saw her son, she smiled warmly but said nothing, respecting Jordan's wish for privacy. However, toward the end of the evening, one of the mayor's aides casually mentioned to Daniel, "It's nice that Jordan works here. The mayor must be so proud of him." Daniel froze. "Wait, Jordan is her son?" "Yes," the aide replied with a chuckle. "Didn't you know?" As the night wound down, Mayor Smith requested to speak with Daniel privately in his office. Straightening his tie nervously, Daniel prepared himself for the encounter. "Good evening, Mr. Carter," she began, her tone polite but firm. "Good evening, Mayor," Daniel stammered. "I wanted to discuss something," she continued, sitting down. "My son Jordan works here. I understand you've been less than respectful toward him." Daniel's heart sank. "Madam Mayor, I assure you." She raised her hand to silence him. "I've raised Jordan to be humble and hardworking, which is why he didn't mention who he is. But that doesn't give you the right to treat him or anyone else the way you have." Daniel struggled to explain himself, but his words faltered. Mayor Smith continued, her voice steady. This restaurant has a reputation for excellence, but that doesn't come from how you speak to people, it comes from the efforts of your staff, including my son. If you can't appreciate that, perhaps you're not fit to lead this establishment." Daniel nodded weakly, realizing there was no excuse for his behavior. After that night, Daniel made a conscious effort to change. He apologized to Jordan, not just for the disrespectful comments but for his overall treatment. Jordan accepted the apology but made it clear that respect was something Daniel would need to earn. Mayor Smith's visit became a turning point for the entire staff. Daniel began treating everyone with fairness and understanding, recognizing that true leadership comes from uplifting those around him. As for Jordan, he continued his job at Bellevue Bistro, earning the respect of his colleagues and the admiration of the patrons. He never let his identity define him, believing the greatest lesson was to stay true to oneself, even in the face of ignorance. In the end, Daniel learned that the people who work behind the scenes are just as important as those in the spotlight, and every individual deserves respect, regardless of who they are. This story serves as a reminder that change is possible, and respect is earned through understanding and kindness. If you enjoyed this story, please share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring tales.